limited.
Limited is okay, but restricted is a little
Well, we
sketchy.
can't say restricted for the park because that's not legal, right? Isn't that what we're talking about?
That's what I'm gathering.
It's not.
Okay, so
Frank,
if
you
it's
wanna
not
weigh in
legal,
on
we
this,
can't say
restricted,
something.
limited?
That's a legal question for Joe.
So what do you think?
Limited to use by
You
village
like
residents.
limited,
only. Limited to
take out
use
the
by
restricted.
village
Yeah.
residents only.
That's fine.
You want it only in there?
Yes.
Okay. Are you all in agreement then?
Where it pertains to the things that we can, that we can limit. If you can't legally limit it, you can't just say it. Are we all, right? That's what we're saying.
Right.
Where
No,
it,
I think we're still saying two different things right now.
that's
I
where I'm
agree with you.
confused.
I wouldn't put it in for parks.
No, we can't.
I would leave parks the way it is and just add the dock stuff against it,
Wait,
behind
we,
it.
Chris just read it up. I'll read it
Everything's
to you
been
again.
okay for docks. Like, we don't, the way that it is, reads for the docks has been okay. So I agree. I think we should just be talking about this section and, excuse me, everything has been okay for parks is what I've been, I don't know,
Right.
that's what I said, that's what I meant to say. I think we should just change the part about docks and leave everything else alone. Everything else has been okay so far.
I
Okay,
agree.
so docks is gonna be, let's agree on the wording. Limited to village use of village
Limited to use by village residents
and
only.
their guests.
And their guests.
Well, the problem is that the guest may not be with them, I would say.
Right, I think that would be implied, if
Yeah,
I'm
I
with
agree.
you.
Accompanying
Okay,
guests.
so,
Yeah.
Remember, again, this is gonna be enforced by our village code.
so limited to village residents.
It's not necessarily a company, and I've had a neighbor of mine, in fact, he has friends come over by boat, and they're gonna be able to moor the boat, and I said, well, you're gonna love the dock, because you can drop them off, because they're all getting to be a certain age. And that was a great thing. You drop them off at the dock, and then they can go use, he has a barn with them, so,
Whatever.
they're not a company.
Whatever the board wants.
So, limited,
What does
I
it
can
say
see
right-
why guests,
Let's see,
limited to.
well, how does it read right now?
I really think we're overthinking this.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that it's mostly
Let's just say
okay.
by limited to use by village residents only.
I mean,
Just
you don't
leave
want
it.
anybody just.
Yeah, just leave it at that, and because
Village
it's,
residents only, no guest room only.
Don't even
All
worry
right,
about
forget
it.
about
Go
guests.
there.
We'll work on that soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll worry about that if it happens.
It's
If
only
it ever
gonna
gets
be-
enforced.
It's only gonna be a
I mean,
problem if there's a problem, if somebody's causing a problem, right? Who do we know I wouldn't know if your friend is dropping something off at the dock. I don't think people care as long as there's not a ruckus in there.
So far, so good.
Yeah,
Nobody,
exactly.
everybody's fine with everything about the dock so
Exactly.
far,
I think
so
it's
we'll
fine.
see. But, all right. Although, Joe, you and I had that conversation today, there are elements in the village who are always looking to stir that up. So without delving into that, all right, you know what, let's leave it.
Then don't
Let's
bring
leave it,
guests.
just leave it, we'll just leave it. Okay, can we agree on that? We'll just
Yeah,
leave it.
leave it
All right.
residents, it's
If it
fine.
happens, it happens.
My only question was use of the ramp.
The ramp is residents only.
There's no place which listed as residents only. That's why I wanted to add it to that 105.
Oh, I agree.
First
That's a good
line,
point.
where it says use of the village dock and
Ramp.
ramp.
Yeah, that's
limited
it.
to village
Can I see that
residents.
real quick? Can I-
Right.
Drop the
Right.
line about parking, the use of the dock and the ramp are limited to village
This
residents.
is the beginning of part.
I like
And I
it.
would
That's not
specify
really- that's it.
California Park Program.
Item number one right underneath the thing, item number one. First
But
line.
it says on parking and use of village parks, use of boat ramp, no person shall launch or land a jet ski or other vessel at the California beach, at the California Park boat launching ramp unless said person is a resident of the village of Poquott with a current and valid village of Poquott parking permit validly assigned to and attached to the vehicle that is being used to land or launch the vessel, or to any person who has obtained a temporary one-time pass to use the ramp to launch a boat or other vessel owned by a village resident. And then there's a
So
subset.
then it's covered.
Don't worry.
Police,
Okay.
fire, and other government agencies are exempt from this.
So we're good.
Okay.
We're
So
good,
we're good.
we get it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, I made is, open items for the board to review with the village attorney. Do you have anything?
So I have a couple things. I submitted the deed for the property over here, I'm sorry, what's the name of it? Morton Manor
Morton
property, I
Manor.
apologize. The deed was submitted a couple weeks ago to a title company to file with the county. It should, either it's been filed now or will be filed shortly, recorded shortly. and then the village will be the owner of the property. I believe the village put it on their insurance policy already. Joe should confirm that, make sure it's on the policy.
Okay.
And when the case involving Ashley Homes versus the village of Poquott, I did write a letter to the court twice saying that the village was under agreement with the county to acquire the property and that we had a deed. So as soon as the deed, but the case is still pending. As soon as we become the actual owner of the property, when the deed is recorded, then I'll write another letter to the judge with a copy of the recorded deed and say, you know, the lawsuit should be dismissed. And the case, which is Aptiv against the village of Poquott, we had a settlement that was agreed to about 6 months ago that the board approved. And Aptiv, we were in court about 3 months ago for the judge to finalize it, and the Aptiv attorneys for some reason backed away. They were attending court by phone, which you can do in federal court, and they for some reason backed away from it. And I think that they were trying to get more money, and but the judge put the hammer to it basically and told them that they she expected them to live up to this agreement, which a week ago they said that they would. And so that case is now finalized, Aptiv versus Poquott, and it's done. The other thing about that is that Aptiv, by signing the paperwork on the settlement, which we'll be doing shortly, they'll be approving the local law that we have, signing off on it, withdrawing any objections to it. So at least as far as they're concerned, the local law that we adopted will be okay.
Now, that's the door-to-door
Yes.
regulations. Did you read the article?
No.
I think you have a very compelling case here. Joe had, it's in your mailbox if you haven't seen it, and I think we need to, you gotta read it before
Okay.
we decide on anything, because, in fact, let me just read something to you, because I kind of circled it. Let me read this.
Just change the time,
Huh?
from dusk to 9.
Yeah, because
to 9
they're
p.m.
saying you can't,
Bingo.
reasonable time limitation, not after 9 o'clock, yes, yes, and yes. This is for the different types of door-to-door people. But door-to-door curfews of 6 p.m., dusk, sunset, something like that, no for door-to-door commercial sales, no for soliciting funds, not even for pure advocating, like, what's that? The Stony Brook students come around.
Oh, the environmental?
Yeah, whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Environmental Defense Fund.
NIPERC.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it was, NIPERC. So anyway, and it makes a compelling case, and it says, so he's got a table here, and he says, and the title of this paragraph is, local governments can regulate door-to-door sales and solicitation, but should they? And what he says is, while the table above outlines the various ways that local governments may regulate door-to-door activities, it does not answer the question, should local governments adopt such regulations? Regulatory programs such as door-to-door regulations are not without their drawbacks. Local governments have to dedicate municipal resources to implement the regulations. Staff may be needed to review applications, issue permits, and enforce violations. When crafting any regulation, local officials should ask themselves what they hope to achieve by enacting and enforcing the local law. Many communities enact door-to-door regulations in response to complaints from residents who are annoyed and sometimes scared of door-to-door vendors and solicitors. However, such concerns are insufficient to curtail the First Amendment rights, and that was the whole basis of all this. They wrote the article in the beginning, of individuals who want to go door to door. Moreover, simply adopting a regulatory scheme will not necessarily achieve the desired result of preventing individuals from going door to door. So the question is, and really, when you read the whole article, do we really want to have any law in place at this time? Because what they're really saying is, if you're going to have it, the restrictions are almost not restrictions. They're still going to be able to go around or not go around and then sue us anyway.
It's discouraging though, if you have the law.
Well, they're really registrations, not restrictions. It's a registration requirement, not a restriction. You're not supposed to limit them, you're supposed to require that they're registered, which is what we do.
Yeah, and I think that that's fair.
Mm-hmm,
we should know who's in our village.
absolutely, yeah.
Well, there's one other article I circled here, reminding residents that they can always ask door-to-door solicitors to leave their property, and encouraging residents to contact the police if door-to-door solicitors refuse to leave their property, which may serve as a better method of dealing with unwanted door-to-door activity. So it's just something that we have to kind of consider, because we never really did that. We wanted to craft a law that fit our defense from this lawsuit. And what he's doing is raising the discussion to a different level. Do we really need it, or is it creating more problems than it solves?
Well, we already have it, you know, we adopted it, it's on the books, the new law.
But
so
what we
I
put
could-
in there
Yeah.
is not what he's saying is gonna fly.
Mhm. Well, I'll study that and,
You have a copy?
yes.
Okay. All right, so, it's a good article. In fact, you know what's interesting in here? There's an article here about,
What magazine is it?
this is, this
Municipal
is in your
matters,
mailbox.
you get it in
It's
your
the one that's in your
mailbox.
It's in
mailbox.
your mailbox.
You get it from the state.
In the back.
Oh,
Referendum.
like I can get it. Oh, my mailbox here.
Referendum.
Oh, okay.
And
Check it when you leave.
I will.
if you, just bear with me a second, because it's just a little paragraph, but it has to do with the dock and the whole referendum issue.
Mhm.
Cities and villages do not have the power by local law or charter provision to require or permit a referendum on issues other than those provided by statutory authorization, which I would say would be if you're gonna float a bond for $10,000, then you're authorized. Remember that whole thing?
Mhm.
Okay, the limit prevents local governments from shifting the burden of municipal decision-making to public opinion
Of
polls.
course, of course.
But the whole article is about how it's based, now it's in a court case, it's now legally
Yeah,
decided.
it should be, that makes sense.
So
So-
that's why we said that when we did the referendum, we said that it's not binding, that it's just,
Well, they're saying you can't hold it, it's against the law to hold a referendum. They say, because this one municipality wanted to put a referendum in their general election thing as something that for everybody to weigh in on, and the court said, no, you can't do that.
Mhm.
So
I
that.
would have to take a look at that one before.
So it's good
You
reading.
have
Curl up-
homework.
Curl up with this on Sunday and learn this.
I was, I think, using a referendum as a public opinion poll
Right.
versus
Yeah.
referendum for
Yeah.
specific
Yeah.
purpose.
You should have been on the
So we had, and I just wanna let everybody know, cause what, some stuff that happened with the ZBA. So the ZBA approved a garage height, I think it's a height variance at 99 Van Buren Manor. And their, part of the decision was a condition that the garage not be used for habitation, residence for habitation. And so we did a covenant restriction that, I drafted a covenant restriction that says that can be recorded against the property, and I provided it to the ZBA, and they'll be forwarding it to the applicant to make sure he's in agreement with it, and then it'll be recorded.
The applicant was there and
Yes.
was agreed to it.
Yes,
Good, that's a good reason.
yeah.
Seems reasonable.
So there was, at the hearing, the initial discussion was that it would be used for cars, and then there was some, sort of drifted into, the word residence was mentioned once or twice, so I recommended to the board that they require the covenant.
Good.
So,
So speaking of the ZBA, Dee had put out that email about still looking for a seventh.
What time are those meetings usually held? Like, when are they usually held?
Third Wednesdays at 7. Third Wednesdays at 7, ZBA. You can't-
Now, is this a regular or is this an alternate member?
Alternate.
This is the-
Alternate.
So, the alternate member has to still attend, or,
If they're
How does that
available,
work?
if they're available to attend the meeting, they can attend the meeting and just sit in the audience.
okay, so they don't have a vote unless somebody,
They
they show
don't
up
have a
in
vote
person.
unless they're
and they-
physically put up to the table because you're.
So is there like a requirement as far as
Attending?
knowledge,
Oh,
no,
knowledge.
knowledge or?
Gotta be alive and breathing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get 4 hours of training every year, so that's the requirement. It's supposed, you have to be a resident, and you have to get 4 hours of training every year.
That's why we go to
Yeah,
resident.
So anyway, so they're still looking. All right, and then the other item I added was the status of the social media policy, because I don't think we actually voted on that.
No, we're supposed to do it at this meeting. That's what Dee told me.
Okay. Well, she didn't have it on the agenda, so I'm glad we.
That was the one that you circulated that everyone.
That was last month,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought it looked good. I liked it.
I saw something.
It's in the board, it's in the regular minute.
Resolution.
Resolution seven.
Yeah.
You know, again, this magazine, every time I get one of these things, I say, this is so great. But there's one here on social media.
You better get ready, Joe. You're not
And,
going out this weekend.
I don't know where it is yet, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing.
I'll
But,
read it, because I'll be getting.
Well, what it is, I think we're okay, because the way we don't, I don't think we use it for official government positions.
Right.
Nope, it's just providing a pathway for delivering information to
Right.
residents.
But we also talked about how
Another
certain
pathway.
things would be blocked, certain things would be removed.
Right.
And what the article says is that if you use social media as a, I don't think they use the word quasi, but quasi-official posting, and you remove somebody's comment that's opposing it, then you can get into First Amendment problems.
Right.
So, since we're talking about the Poquott social media policy, what we would have to do is to make sure that nobody's comment is removed. I don't think we ever mentioned
I don't even
somebody
think
could be blocked.
we're not even, I think this is just providing a pathway for delivering information to residents. I don't know if we're.
No, it was in
allowing
there
for-
about
But there's
how-
in there, like,
what's not allowed.
pornography's in there, language,
I don't know about that, Jeff, though. because
discrimination,
if somebody posts something
hateful.
hateful, like if somebody
That's
does
different.
something
That's not what I'm
threatening
saying.
on Facebook removes it.
You're just saying if you don't agree with their opinion.
If they say that, you know, a typical rant might be that that's the way they do things around here, they're always this and that and whatever, and we remove it because we don't like the tone or something like
No,
that.
we're not gonna
Tone
do
is
that.
different,
Right,
yeah.
well, I'm just saying that that's
No, we
what
can't.
the article's about, so
Yeah.
I just, especially in your case, because you'd be that person, I would say.
Yeah.
Is to just make sure that we don't go over that First
Yeah.
Amendment line.
I think that was the whole reason that we were sticking
Yeah.
to just things that were like, you know, threatening or
Harassment.
or
Hateful.
really hateful.
Discriminatory.
I think you covered it. I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
her policy
I
covered
think there
it.
should be a statement at the beginning of the, whatever it's gonna be, a page or whatever. There should be a statement about your policy, just 10 words that, you know, the village of Poquott is against discrimination.
Oh, you're saying when you're on the
disclaimer.
forum.
Yeah, and any comments any such comments will be removed, you know, just make that statement at the beginning, disclosure.
But would it just be discrimination, or would it be?
Well, we have to find lots of places
I'll-
have those kinds of
Jacqueline, I'll look-
declarations.
I'll
Yeah,
look up
I
some
could write it
stuff
for
for
you.
that.
I'll give you an example.
An example would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, then we're gonna table that. Okay, and then, if we can, Jackie, maybe we can just kind of throw something together, if anybody has something to
Well, Joe's gonna-
throw it up to you.
Are you sending something?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can all work on
Okay,
it, you
so,
know, just
yeah.
saying.
And I'll just add it in there,
Group
because I
effort.
have it in
What's your
Word.
email? Or you wanna say, you can just write it
It's my village email.
down? I can look it up, it's on the village.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I have work, I have private, I have separate, I have all those emails. Yeah, just send it to the village one. Actually, everyone should send me stuff on my village email. I get a lot of stuff on my work email, which I was using before I got the village
It's
email.
good to keep them separate. I keep them
So-
separate
I
too.
still do
Plus,
that.
the bank's being acquired and I won't be there
Mhm.
after the end of March, so just, it's not a problem, it's just I won't get the emails if you don't send them to the village after.
The entire 6.5 years, I still have my work email, just because I keep tabs on what's been going on.
Oh, that's really,
Whatever,
well, we
stuff
won't
and
even be
stuff.
Gold Coast Bank anymore,
Yeah.
so that'll be gone.
Okay, so, I guess we can close the work session. It's 5 to 7, I think we should wait till 7 just to see if anybody.
Probably.
Let's just,
I don't wanna hear that we
Okay,
started
so
the meeting
the,
early.
Adjourn
now
the
we
work
can-
Have a
session,
motion to adjourn?
5-minute break.
Motion?
Motion?
Motion to adjourn work session?
Second, the motion.
All in favor?
Session
A,
closed.
aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Hey.
aye, aye, aye.